Holden gets a surprise call from his father, whom he hasn't seen in a while. With nowhere else to go after his trip to Europe, he decides to visit Mason. Upon arrival at the mansion, he hugs Madeline, the housekeeper from his childhood, and asks where Mason is. Madeline tells him Mason is upstairs. When Holden goes to Mason's room, he tries to call his father but gets no answer. Curious about the running water, he checks the bathroom but finds a woman instead, which shocks him. He quickly leaves just as Mason enters, excited to see him and apologizing for missing Holden's graduation due to work pressures. Mason then introduces the woman as Lana, his wife, which surprises Holden even more. Later, at a fundraising event, Mason brags about Holden being a Harvard graduate while teasing his lawyer, Harry, about Yale. Mason asks Lana to show Holden around, and she flirts with him, leading to a conversation about heartbreak. At the auction, Mason grows jealous when he sees Lana talking to Harry. Afterward, he confronts her about it, and when he gets angry, Holden steps in, causing Mason to back down. The next day, Lana takes Holden to her favorite bar since Mason canceled their plans. Unfortunately, the bar is closed, so Holden suggests finding another place. Lana refuses and starts searching in the bushes for the keys. Once she finds them, she tells Holden that the bar owner is her friend. While they're there, Lana encourages Holden to drink more. As they both get tipsy, the tension between them grows. But then, Lana spots the bar's caretaker and tells Holden to clean up and hide behind the counter. The caretaker comes in, turns off the music, and then leaves, making Holden feel relieved. They share another glance, and Holden mentions that their feelings are wrong. Yet they can't resist the attraction and give in. Back at the mansion, Mason sees Lana and Holden arrive. The next morning, during breakfast, Holden notices a bruise on Lana's wrist. Mason joins them, cheerful as ever, and mentions that he invited Nicole for dinner, hoping they'll get along. Later, Mason plays basketball with Holden. Holden is frustrated because Mason keeps winning. Determined to succeed, he manages to steal the ball, but Mason, not wanting to lose, pushes him. That evening, Lana checks on Holden in the kitchen. He asks about the bruise, but she brushes it off. This sparks Holden's anger toward his father, especially since Mason treated her mother poorly. He's upset that Mason is repeating the same harmful patterns with Lana. After a brief silence, Lana apologizes for their time together. Holden doesn't blame her since he agreed to it, but she urges him to forget it. He moves closer, and she responds. The next morning, Mason is out, giving Lana and Holden time to be together. While they enjoy each other's company, Lana shares her story. She reveals that her father mistreated her, and when he also showed interest in her sister, she took action. She secretly put whiskey in his lunch, knowing he struggled with alcohol, which caused him to pass out and fall into his boat. Later that evening, Mason and his family host Nicole after dinner. Mason encourages her to talk about her career goals, and she excitedly says she wants to be a broadcast journalist. Then, Mason asks Holden about his future plans. Holden mentions he wants to study architecture, but Mason dismisses it, saying the degree is pointless. He suggests Holden should work with him instead. Feeling embarrassed, Holden confides in Lana that he wants to leave Chicago. Lana thinks Mason is just offering him a job, but Holden explains it's really about control. Worried, Lana asks what will happen to her if he leaves. When he doesn't answer, she gets closer to him. The next morning, Mason takes Holden to the woods for a hunting trip. As they walk, Mason asks Holden if he knows what Lana does when he's away. Holden pretends not to know, and they move on. During the hunt, Holden, feeling angry, aims his gun at his father's head, but suddenly stops. Later, Mason returns from his workout, and Holden offers to make him a protein shake, which Mason appreciates. Once he has the shake, Mason shares his suspicions about Lana. Holden gets nervous but insists he doesn't know anything about her. As Mason's distrust grows, Holden calls Lana to meet at a motel to end their relationship. However, Lana wants to keep seeing him and suggests they can be more discreet. Holden tells Lana he's leaving, but she pleads with him to stay. Reluctantly, he gives in and lets her comfort him. Later that night, he wakes up alone and sees a note she left on the mirror. He tries to check out of the motel, but the reception is closed. As he's about to leave, a homeless man asks for money, and Holden gives him some. Back at home, Holden pours himself a drink and is shocked to find the place in disarray, with Mason's body on the floor. When the police arrive, they start their investigation and find that Mason was stabbed 4 times with a sharp knife. Detective Clarkson and Lieutenant Mormino want to question Holden at the station, but they also need Lana's account. She asks him if he knows what happened, but he says he doesn't. Though he knows where Lana was, he chooses not to say. Just then, Lana appears, looking confused. At the police station, Holden tells the detectives he was at the theater watching The Godfather when Mason died. Meanwhile, Lana claims she was out shopping and then went to Nicole's apartment. After the questioning, Harry informs them that they can return home once the investigation is complete, but for now, they can stay at his house. In Harry's home, Lana reveals that Nicole recorded their private moments and is demanding $100,000 for it. Holden gets anxious, but Lana reassures him that she'll handle it. On the day of Mason's funeral, Harry talks to Holden, suggesting Mason married Lana to feel younger. Holden asks if Lana could be involved in Mason's death, but Harry quickly dismisses the idea, noting her alibi checks out. He suspects someone else, possibly Lana's partner, could be responsible. After their conversation, Holden interacts with Lana. Holden doesn't want to get involved, and Lana starts to suspect he might have something to do with Mason's death. Despite her concerns, she promises to help protect his reputation. Holden insists he didn't harm his father and accuses her of being involved. Lana confidently claims she was with him and Nicole the night Mason died. Holden remains unsure and hints that she might have had assistance. His comment stings Lana, but she chooses to ignore it. One day, Holden follows Lana to meet Nicole. He asks for the tape, but Nicole quickly hops into her car. Lana then chastises Holden for being too forceful, saying he's jeopardizing their negotiation. Frustrated, she gets into Nicole's car, leaving Holden feeling upset. Suddenly, Holden receives a call from Harry, urging him to visit the lawyer. In Harry's office, Harry confronts Holden about lying in his statement, noting that the theater he said he was at has problems showing the film. This leads Harry to suspect that Holden may have a motive for Mason's death. Confused, Holden asks for clarification, and Harry mentions Mason's will, revealing that Holden is the primary beneficiary. Harry then plays a tape that features Lana and Holden together. He tells Holden that he received the tape from an unknown sender that morning. Feeling trapped, Harry pressures Holden to tell the truth. Holden admits he was with Lana at the motel, but wanted to end their relationship. He explains that when he returned home, he discovered Mason's body. Harry asks if Lana was with him the entire time, but Holden explains that she was gone when he woke her up. He suggests that the homeless man he helped could confirm he was at the motel. Harry asks Holden who might have sent him the tape. Holden explains that it was Nicole, who is using it to blackmail him for money. However, Harry suspects that Lana is actually behind it. He believes she intends to release the tape to suggest that Holden had a motive to harm Mason. If Holden is caught, Lana would inherit everything. Later, Harry walks Holden to his car and advises him not to confront Lana. He suggests Holden pack his things and stay with him for now. That night, when Holden returns home, he notices that one of Mason's katanas is missing. Curious, he goes to Mason and Lana's room, where he finds Lana's handbag. Inside, he discovers a stack of money and a gun. When Lana approaches, she calmly explains that the money is for Nicole and the gun is for safety. Outside, as Holden loads his bag into his car, he hears a strange noise in the garage. He goes in and finds Mason's convertible along with a note that looks like it was written by him. The note falsely claims that Holden confessed to killing his father out of jealousy and plans to take his own life. Just then, Lana appears, looking for the source of the noise. Holden tries to hide but accidentally knocks over a rack, causing Lana to fire in his direction. Frightened, he hides, but she keeps an eye on him. To distract her, Holden opens the garage door. Then he tackles Lana to the ground and takes the gun from her. Lana pleads for her life, insisting it was all just a misunderstanding. A heartbroken Holden releases Lana, who explains she thought he was an intruder. He confronts her about the death note in his name, but she denies it, saying his accusations scare her. Holden is still unsure, but Lana insists she's being honest and tells him she loves him. He apologizes in return. After their talk, Holden rushes to Harry's place to show him the computer where Lana wrote the note. The next day at the police station, Holden shares the truth about his father's death. In the detective's office, Detective Sykes doubts Holden's account, thinking he may have harmed Lana since she is missing. Lieutenant Mormino adds that Nicole is also unaccounted for, reinforcing Sykes' belief that Holden is guilty. Following orders, the detectives arrest him. The next morning, Lieutenant Mormino tells Detective Clarkson that Lana has fled to Venezuela. Initially, they are only starting to suspect her, but their doubts grow when Nicole arrives to give her statement. She reveals that she and Lana are in a relationship and that she helped Lana blackmail Holden for his trust fund. Nicole claims Lana promised they would be together once their plan succeeded. However, she also mentions that one night, Lana came to her apartment covered in blood. Detective Clarkson inquires if Nicole knows where the weapon is, but she denies it. She reveals that Lana hid it in an unknown spot. Although she's trying to help, Clarkson questions her motives. Nicole admits she fears for her life because Lana intends to kill Holden and make it look like suicide. Later, after being released, Holden returns home with Harry. Harry shares a toxicology report showing that Mason was poisoned with an odorless insecticide, indicating he was poisoned before the knife wounds. This implies that someone strong like Holden could be framed. That evening, Holden notices something unusual in the vent of the fireplace. Holden finds the weapon used on Mason hidden in the vent. As he looks at it, he hears a voice behind him and sees Nicole, who points a gun at him. She reveals her true identity as Stacy and kisses him, celebrating their success. In reality, Holden had poisoned Mason while making his protein shake, and after Mason died, Stacy hid the weapon. After the kiss, Holden asks about Stacy's trip to Venezuela, and she explains how she pretended to be Lana. When he asks what happened to Lana, Stacy admits she pushed her body off a cliff after Holden knocked her out. This angers Holden, and he rushes to the cliff to check. Stacy insists Lana wouldn't have survived the fall, but Holden remains concerned. Back at the house, Holden calls Lieutenant Mormino to report finding the weapon. Just as he prepares to leave, the lights go out, and Lana appears, confronting him. She accuses him of betrayal, and Holden admits to his part in Mason's death, revealing his true motives. Realizing how cold-hearted he is, Lana feels regret for loving him. In a moment of anger, she tries to shoot him, but he runs outside to the garden, ending up at the cliff. Cornered, she threatens him again, but he provokes her to act. Suddenly, a shot rings out, and Lana falls down the cliff. Lieutenant Mormino arrives to help Holden afterward. Once safe, Holden drives Mason's convertible to meet Stacy, and the couple plans to escape to a new life.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.